Aussie larrikin who fleeced a major bank of more than $1.5 million, living the life of a high roller. Lavish dining, private jets, expensive gifts for friends, and it didn't cost him 1 cent.
In 2011, Dan Saunders, a 29-year-old barman from Wangaratta, Australia, stumbled upon an incredible and highly unusual glitch at his local bank's ATM. One fateful night, after stumbling onto an ATM after a few drinks, Saunders discovered that if he transferred money from his credit to savings account during a specific time frame after midnight, his bank would dispense cash without actually debiting his account. Realizing the potential of this glitch, he decided to test it further the following night, confirming that it indeed worked consistently. Saunders quickly devised a method to exploit this glitch. Each night, he would transfer funds between his credit account into his savings, replenishing the amount he spent the night before, essentially creating credit on demand out of thin air. The kicker was, this exploit only worked during a specific window of time each night, and he had to replenish the money he spent the night before. Otherwise, his account would show a negative balance, triggering an alert to the bank that the funds were missing from his account. Saunders was shocked how unsophisticated the exploit was, which now gave him a magical credit card with unlimited spending potential. It didn't take long to develop an uncontrolled spending habit. Over the course of several months, Saunders' spending would balloon to over $1.6 million, living a life of luxury and excess that was far beyond his means as a bartender. In a very short time, he was fired from his job when his employer found out he had spent $40,000 on sports bets in less than a week, a sum that prompted an immediate investigation from his employer and their sports betting bookies. Luckily, he evaded raising any more suspicions when they realized no money was stolen from the bar's safe. They assumed he was just a degenerate gambling addict, a convenient cover he happily used to cover up his tracks. Meanwhile, living a secret double life was starting to take a personal toll on Saunders. His fiancée, a straight-laced religious school teacher, was starting to catch on that something was amiss. After rumors spread around their small town of Saunders' gambling habits and late-night benders, he repeatedly has to use the ATM exploit every night at the same time, or else he'll risk getting caught. He found himself living a real-life Cinderella story. Fearing the worst, she breaks up with him, unaware of the infinite money glitch he stumbled upon, armed with an endless spending account and a few trusted accomplices who would guard his secrets. Saunders set up shop in downtown Melbourne at the ritzy Crown Hotel and Casino. He treated his friends to lavish dinners, chartered private jets, and sordid affairs in five-star hotels. He hosts extravagant late-night parties and splurges on high-end fashion and luxury goods. Saunders even funded a whirlwind trip to Las Vegas, where he gambled large sums of money. Certain he would never get caught, Saunders begins to embrace his newfound identity as a high-rolling spender and financier, a necessary cover story for his extravagant spending habits. His newfound friends and acquaintances, unaware of the source of his sudden wealth, were both impressed and bewildered by this mysterious newcomer on the scene. Despite his careful execution of the scheme, faithfully each night at the same time, Saunders eventually began to feel the pressure of his actions. As the months went by, he started to worry about the legal and ethical implications of his actions. Unable to recoup the money he spends, the only way to keep the balances showing negative was to create more money out of thin air. The strain of living a double life and the fear of being caught weighed heavily on him. In a moment of clarity, he decided to come clean and confess his actions to the bank. Saunders contacted his bank and revealed the details of the ATM glitch and his subsequent withdrawals. Surprisingly, his confession went unnoticed by the police for several months. At this point, Saunders was living out of his luxury hotel room with a bathtub filled with cash, expecting them to raid him at any moment. Finally, in a move of desperation, after months of living in constant fear and paranoia of being arrested or possibly being watched by authorities around the clock, he decides to go public, exposing himself to the local media. His story goes viral almost instantly on local Australian news. Weeks after the salacious story made headlines, as he predicted, the authorities finally arrested him. Saunders was charged with multiple counts of wire fraud and theft. In court, he expressed remorse for his actions, explaining that the initial discovery was a fluke that spiraled way out of control. Despite his cooperation and willingness to admit his wrongdoing, Saunders was sentenced to 12 months in prison, which he served in 2015. Following his release, Saunders faced significant challenges in rebuilding his life. His story, however, gained widespread attention, leading to media coverage, interviews, and even talks of a motion picture based on the events. Still to this day, there remain so many unanswered questions surrounding his case. It remains a mystery why the bank remained silent for so long after he disclosed the loophole. Did the bank want a formal cover-up? Would Saunders never have been caught in the first place if he didn't turn himself in? And just how can banks create money out of thin air? These questions highlight the vulnerabilities present and potential for gross misuse of the banking systems, not just by crafty individuals like Saunders, but by sophisticated groups of hackers or even the bankers themselves. This wraps up another episode, and folks, we still have more strange and fascinating stories coming up. If you like the content, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share us on social media. And as always, stay curious, stay quirky, and we'll see you in the next adventure.